I'm Sick Nick Mondo, and this is THT Podcast. Visit thtpodcast.com.
It's so hard for me to sit back here in this studio looking at a guy out here hollering my name. When last year I spent more money on spilled liquor in bars from one side of this world to the other than you made. You're not hard, just soft. Your jaw's broken. 36 cents pipe down when it's all over. You're gorgeous, George, but I am George Foreman. Step on my toes and get your nose broken. So cold in the game, and you, sir, you will never ever know my name. I'm big spender, like I am big. So I decided to demand paper, and if I don't get it, you're gonna get a backbreaker. I'm barbaric, Haku Meng, I'm authentic. Mr. Perfect, I am Kurt Hennig. Fuck the politics like New Jack, the hot tag with no menace. I will humble you like Iron Sheik. You need a hitman like Bret Hart, you better come and hire me. The hot tag, we double team like we Siamese. Hit your girl with this D, she got double D. Hit your girl with this wood like Jim Duggan, it ain't nothing. On until he went to brain busting. After sex, I just give her the woo. You would swear that Ric Flair just stepped in a room. Shoulder tackle the competition that's leeching the foot. Undertaker the pussy, I put it back in the tube. You smooth like Brock Lesnar, I'll pay you for 5 seconds. King Kong Bundy, oh, Mr. Dan Savage. I really could have said I can't see Cena, but I can every week on Raw acting like a diva. Savages like Randy, better induct Macho Man, tell Bray Wyatt, bring him out through the hologram. Welcome to the hot tag. Welcome to the hot tag. Welcome to the hot tag. You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, wheeling dealing, limousine jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. THT Podcast. Tuesdays, 8:05 p.m., thtpodcast.com.
What's up, guys and girls? This is the American Psycho, Lance Archer, and you're listening to the Hot Tag Podcast. Check them out on thtpodcast.com, or I'm coming to get you.
All right, how's it going, everybody? Once again, it is Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It is the Hot Tag Podcast. It's me, Shaheen, my co-host, Boxman.
Hey.
How's it going, Boxman?
If I was any better, they'd come lock me up.
There you go, man. And once again, we have a special guest. We have an ECW original, somebody I grew up watching. We got Jason Knight on the show. How's it going, man?
Good, thank you. Good evening. Hope everybody's doing great.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I absolutely enjoy doing these things, and glad to be here.
Nice. Well, first and foremost, let's get into the WWF days. You were doing some matches on Raw back in the day. I remember actually Lex Luger's debut was against you, correct?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, from what I remember.
Yeah, I remember working with him. That was in the Manhattan Center, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. 93.
Yeah, 93.
93, yeah. But, before that, I was... Actually, I think before that, I wrestled Curtis Hughes there. Yeah, it was like the very first Raw, so I'm not sure,
Okay.
I mean, it was a while ago.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of 93, one of the first shows that ECW did that I remember as far as, Eastern Championship Wrestling was Ultra Clash 93. And you were actually in a match where you teamed up with Ian Rotten. Any memories of that night? Because, I'm sure the locker room was crazy. They had Abdullah the Butcher. We had Stan Hansen, Terry Funk, the Headhunters, Miguel Perez. Any thoughts on that night?
Oh, my God. I mean, I could go on all night, but I'm going to try to narrow it down. That was, the funny thing about that was that Paul wanted me to wrestle Eddie and Johnny, both my great friends there, not physically with us, but spiritually, yes.
Right.
And, Ted Petty was one of my mentors, and, Johnny Rodz, one of the guys that I absolutely loved in business, a great friend, fun guy. And the thing is that do you remember what month that show took place?
I don't remember exact month.
No.
I could find it, though.
It was like before winter, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Before winter, yeah. Because in June that month, I had 2 back surgeries, like lower back surgeries, when I wasn't supposed to do anything. And, Paul talked me into, oh, don't worry about it. You won't take any bumps and this and that, Just come in and, do this, and I did.
Okay.
So I came in, completely, still healing up after, neurosurgery,
Right.
It's kind of like a serious thing, and I just remember telling these guys, don't bump me on my back, please, watch my back, this and that, so, and Ian was kind enough, he said, I'll take, the double pile driver, the finisher, and all that. I'm like, I hope so, because otherwise I'm just going to simply, get injured, and, went through that, and then wasn't long after that, they called me, Paul called me to do the manager gimmick because, it was like, well, you're injured, you can still manage and all that. But the night, I remember that night, it was a hell of a night. The Headhunters were there, and it was just, it was probably one of the best independent shows at that time that I not only attended, but, that I actually got to work on. And I remember that was the night that Paul took over, and Eddie Gilbert was out, and Doug Gilbert came back and, smashed up some tables with a baseball bat, and, it was like sort of a mess, but, we thought might have been work, but I guess it wasn't. So, at the time it was the age of the innocent still, 93.
Right.
Before the whole internet thing, so.
Yeah, there was still kayfabe there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it was like semi-kayfabe, you would say.
Right.
Now there's no kayfabe.
Absolutely not. Now, Jason, you mentioned Eddie Gilbert and Doug Gilbert. Any memories of Eddie Gilbert? Because unfortunately, he wasn't around long enough. But you were one of the guys that was around him.
No, I never got to meet either gentleman face to face or shake their hands or work with them. But I mean, the Gilbert family and that whole legacy, it's nothing but golden for the business. And if it wasn't for guys like that, many of us wouldn't have a place in the business. We're talking guys that are not exactly giants. They can work. They can definitely carry their own and have balls of steel and still exist in the business. So nothing but huge respect for the Gilbert family and anyone that ever affiliated with them.
Absolutely. Now, Jimmy Snuka was also in the ECW in the early days. Now, with all the controversy going on with Jimmy Snuka right now, any memories of Jimmy Snuka? Any stories from him?
What can I tell you? Always the same Jimmy Snuka. It's like for the first time, I got to wrestle Jimmy Snuka and take his finish. And, that was my own request. And it was in Waterbury, Connecticut, not too long ago. And Jimmy teamed up with, it was ECPW, and he teamed up with their champ.
Man, I can't remember that.
Frankie Flo. And I teamed up with Andrew Anderson, and I requested to, finally take the finish from Jimmy because I've never worked with him or anything like that. I've known him for so many years, and Snuka is always the same Snuka. I mean, he's just the same real person. That's the only thing. That's the only way that I can describe him. I mean, he's real through and through. There's nothing fake about him, and anything else that's personal, that's, you know, as far as what's going on, excuse me, in his life, that's his own personal thing. But, you know, my respect and my admiration, you know, absolute love for Jimmy Snuka will never fade.
Right. Now, you know, between 93 and 95, you had a bunch of WWF guys that actually came over to ECW. For example, Jim Neidhart, when he left in, I think it was 93. British Bulldog, I think he did a show for ECW back in the day. I'm not sure if you were around for that one. But also Hawk from Legion of Doom, of course. Were those guys able to adapt to the ECW environment, and you know, any kind of stories from those guys coming in?
Yeah, I mean, Neidhart was just awesome, as he always was and is, in my opinion. I mean, he's just a pure wrestler, and also a hell of a guy. So was Hawk. Really, really great guys who made that transition from big time to us. You know, then that were just, you know, trying to break into this whole company, we're a company thing, you know, and you get more and more these days, but, you know, I guess we'll talk about that later. But, you know, these guys are really cool, and, you know, they treated us great, and, you know, I'm sure they were getting paid a hell of a lot more than we were, you know, because they were headliners, but they were, you know, they were good people. Neidhart and, you know, Hawk and Snuka, Hughes, all those guys. I mean, they've been to the dance before. And, you know, the funny thing is, you know, I've been to the dance as well, you know, but I was just a guy on TV, mid-carder, you know, doing jobs. But, you know, to see how they were able to adapt to all of us. Because you got to realize later on, you know, who did you really have? Dreamer, Taz, and then this one, that one, me. You know, nobody ever really made it in business, you know. That was like our first time to the big dance. And we were all in the business for 10 or more years. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, these guys came in, you know, they were all pretty cool. I mean, there was you know, I remember Phil Fon and Doug Furnace, and, you know, it's almost like Paul had a knack to hire guys that were very much, you know, very much one of the boys, and, you know, they knew how to behave around others that may not have been the same superstars, but perhaps we had the same talent and the same, you know, Steve Austin doing a job to Mikey Whipwreck and, you know, things like that. Even Scott Hall.
Oh, yeah. Towards the end, right?
Luciano. And, yeah, I mean, you know, we're talking, you know, all these people are very, very professional. Very professional. I remember Bob Eaton came in with
Arn Anderson.
They were all very professional. Pillman, he was professional. I mean, they were all, you know, I mean, as professional and as calm as Brian Pillman could be at the time. Because, you know,
right.
He had a set of problems. But, yeah, I mean, well, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, he came in and he, you know, these guys, you know, they fulfilled. And they were professional. They looked professional. They were trained the right way. You know, far cry from, you know, what you see a lot these days.
Mm-hmm.
A far cry.
Right.
Right. Now, another question from around 93. Abdul the Butcher, he was doing a couple shows. He did some stuff with Kevin Sullivan, and of course he was at Ultra Clash. How was he around all the guys? Because, you know, a lot of people say Abdul the Butcher, you know, he's really egotistical, but also a lot of people say kind things about him. So where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've never been the one to seek out the guys on top in order to ride their coattail or anything like that. I respect them, and I learn from them, and I try to be a little distant and just, you know, watch from the sidelines. And if I get invited to a party, hey, you know, I'll attend. But, you know, I think that he was, I don't know, I mean, perhaps if you get into his business or start marking out for him, it's going to open up that appetite for, hey, I'm a veteran type of thing.
Right.
And then, it's going to leave a taste in someone's mouth. Oh, that's, he's an asshole, this and that. I've never seen it because, like I said, I've never been a bag carrier or chauffeur to anyone. I came in, did my jobs if I had to, got squashed if I had to, this and that. Never bought alcohol or drugs or cigarettes for any of the veterans, and I've been doing this for well over 30 years and survived in the business. Perhaps, that's why I never made it to a level that, a lot of my colleagues have, but, be that as it may. At least I can look at myself in the mirror and, I'm still doing well today. I've enjoyed a moderately successful career for a long period of time.
Yeah, plus you got to see the world.
Yeah. Can't beat that.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I'm just trying to say all these guys and everything that a lot of my colleagues that were in my position of being just, jobbers, as that, like I said, they made their choices. They carried bags. They, got them drugs and got them alcohol and cigarettes and, set their girlfriends up to sleep with them. And
right.
You know what? They're in no better position than any of us. So, as far as, guys like Abby and, those, I never got that, I never got that close. I never cared to.
Well, that's respectable.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, in '93, ECW seemed to have a relationship with Wing, and Wing was a hardcore promotion in Japan. They brought in guys like Miguel Perez, the Headhunters, and also Matsunaga. What happened with that relationship? Was that something that they were planning on building furthermore, and what happened with that?
Well, Wing, I went and wrestled for Wing twice, and it was myself and Teddy and John, the Public Enemy, J.D. Smith, the Pitbulls, Sandman, and anyone else with us at the time. I don't want to forget anyone. But, a bunch of guys, that were like rented from Tokyo Pro and here and there. And I think our second show for Wing, that guy Ibaragi, that supposedly financed or whatever, he ended up owing me money and owing a lot of other people money. So I think they just simply, I don't think it was
just called it off.
Company. And, I'm grateful to have been there, but, I would like my $1,200. Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah, it's business, man. It's business.
Yeah.
Boxman, you got a question?
Yeah, excuse me. You were in Eastern Championship Wrestling while it was becoming the ECW that we all saw today. Just wanted to know kind of what it was like being in the locker room watching that transformation happen.
There was always the notion, conviction, and, absolute feeling that, something good was going to come out of it. The only thing that I didn't think, being not naive, but just innocent of treachery at the time, was that the company was designed to be doomed to fail. Because, the company was designed to fail in less than 10 years. I mean, if anyone doesn't realize that, you are living in a dream. Say a company like TNA has been around twice longer than ECW, the company that was there way before, like been there and done that, so you got to realize that, Paul and, his boys, Dreamer and Taz and Raven and all those guys, the guys in the office, they designed it, that they were going to make it their resume, look what we did here. And all those guys that were there, and after we got all kicked out and pissed on, and then, hired back for a pay-per-view or two, and then, to get our teeth knocked out by the NX, whatever it is. I mean, the same guys, right, that were like one versus ECW. In any case, all those guys, they worked in the office and they became something and somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
One guy is the announcer, the other guy is the owner of his own company. Paul Heyman is all there, and it was all designed. I mean, it was all a big setup from the very beginning, and I mean, that's the truth. It was the transition was beautiful, and I saw it happening, but what disturbed me was that all the angles that were happening, they were like big. The fire angle and this and that, all that's happening within a period of 5 to 7 years,
mm-hmm.
or to 8 years, and it should have been distributed over at least double that time. It was all like boom, 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 one after another, one after another, one after another.
Right.
And if you think WCW had, it's, babyface, heel, babyface, this and that, especially toward the end, when we got that contract with the, what was that, TNN?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody and their mother came into ECW. I mean, people who absolutely did not belong there, And again, I've said it before, I do not want to name names because I do not want to hurt the feelings of these people,
okay.
whether I like them or not.
Right.
And it's not for the fear of, fear because fuck them, They're not going to do nothing.
Right.
But I'm
Right.
just saying, being that much of a gentleman, I think that toward the end, they just, here, come in. Oh, you've been WCW, come in. You've been here, come in. No, come in. Independent, this one, that one, come in. I mean, they were like taking everyone in like it was nobody's business. ECW became worse than WCW ever was. With all the characters and wrestlers that never belonged there.
Right.
And not that they weren't good at what they did, they just did not belong there in the same place that we started. And not just me and the ones at my time, but the guys way before me. What happened to Stetsons and Hot Bodies and J.T. Smiths and D.C. Drakes and all those guys. I mean, really, if you really look at the history of ECW, I mean, it runs way deeper, and it was a lot more quality wrestling and more wrestling and less bullshit. I mean, it goes toward the end. Because toward the end, it just became, it became ridiculous. You had gimmicks and characters that were like, never mind cartoon, they were like completely asinine. And I think that when all these guys got together, they literally planned to just completely destroy everything and just take a few troops along with them, and that's what they did. And the rest of us, well, we got behind, just collecting dust.
Yeah. So is that kind of like the reason you left ECW the first time? You didn't like the direction that they were heading?
The first, I left ECW twice. The first time, it was some sort of a stupid thing that, it was my thing. The second time was in the 90s, when my daughter was born. And, I just kind of, we started between that transaction of having shows and making money, and I had an offer in Japan, and I was like, I'll be honest with you, I was way behind rent. My daughter was born. I really needed the money, and, what I could make in those 2 weeks was a lot more than what I could make in 4 months in ECW. And I asked Paul, I said, please let me leave. Let me just, I need this money. I mean, I really need to, I need it. You're getting me broke. It's like, I'm coming to these shows and I can barely pay bills and I'm already behind rent and all that. He's like, well, if you go, I'm going to fire you. I said, you know what? You're going to have to fire me because I really, really need this. I need this. And my daughter was just, there's this little baby lying there and, you got to feed this child, and I'm not gonna sign up for any favors from the government or anything like that. So I went to work and I got fired, and he took me back again, for the second time, and that was that. I think it was the night of Yankees Paradise. I came back.
Yep. And I think something similar like that happened with Sabu also. Sabu did a FMW show, and Paul Heyman fired him for that. So.
Yeah, but Sabu being, what he's willing to put his body through, and you got to realize, Sabu and I are like apples and oranges, because he was put in a position where he would be the guy that. You were the wrestler, you were the championship quality and this and that, and now me, I was just the guy, that could wrestle anyone, or quite frankly, out wrestle. But my gimmick from the beginning set the pace as far as where I was going to be, and that's another part of the reason why I started getting. Very upset toward the middle of the end, and I started revolting. But I can understand where Sabu did the thing that he did because he just wasn't paying the bills with the money that was, and it's not fair because if any of the guys got ripped off in ECW, Sabu, he got ripped off not only by the office, but I thought pretty much all the boys. Look at it. Who was the originator of that crazy hardcore thing? It was Sabu. And then everybody and their mother, started using tables. D-Ron gets the tables. Get the fuck out of here. I love you guys, but come on,
Yeah, it's Sabu.
Those guys should at least, send Sabu a percentage of their weekly paycheck to Sabu, really. Because, tables, same thing, with the Teddy and John at tables, it was Sabu. PJ and I, Sandman, this one at tables, Sabu. Mikey Whipwreck, this one at tables, Sabu. All that. Dreamer, God's sake, you should know better, Sabu, you should be supporting Sabu. He's the one that really originated. No one ever did that. The only time I ever saw something like that was years ago when Joel Duke threw Jerry Lawler through a table, through an announcer table.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Did you ever see that?
I have seen that.
Yeah, now that's hardcore. Those are the originators. But from '93 on in ECW. Sabu's the originator. These guys, they should all, literally write a part of their check to Sabu for whatever he wants to use the money for. It doesn't matter. They all own that, and and he, honestly, he was a trooper, with that. And I talked to him, I could do, I would be like after blood.
Yeah.
I would be, I'm looking for blood if somebody's like, what am I going to do? Whatever, fuck him, this and that. And, he became, jaded and even getting ripped off and all that.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you, man. Sabu's definitely like one of those guys that you're going to look back at, 30 years and you're never going to forget Sabu. He's just one of those guys. Yeah. You can't duplicate that.
You got all the great guys. All the incredible wrestlers. Including Jerry Lynn and Rob and all those guys. But honestly, in the beginning, those guys were elsewhere. They weren't there. the ones that really opened up the floodgates were, I believe, us that were there, including for the guys like PJ and Lance and all those guys. That thankfully they came in because they became legends. Lance Wright, Lance Wright too, but Lance Soren and Credible and all those guys, Jerry Lynn, deservingly so. But without us poor bastards that were struggling for $5 a night before that, they wouldn't have their $150 contracts, or more. So
No, I definitely agree with you on that. Now it's interesting that you mentioned Tommy Dreamer because he's running House of Hardcore in Philadelphia now. They're doing shows at the old ECW arena. We haven't seen Sabu there, man, and you're talking about supporting Sabu, and that's one of those guys that quite frankly I'm really surprised that he didn't use.
You haven't seen Gary Wolf from me or Sabu or whatever.
Right.
I have a problem. I don't like to talk bad about anyone, but I'm very disappointed, Dreamer himself, because it's like, I was one of the guys that every night after night, I whatever it took to get him over, whether I worked with him or whether I managed someone else. I took some friggin' insults in the middle of the ring that he wrote down because he thought they were funny. But, it's all good. I did it out of my own volition. And now, I can't even get a phone call back. That kind of sucks. And it's very disrespectful. And,
right.
I'm very becoming from a professional like, Tommy Dreamer. Very, very disappointing, in fact.
That's unfortunate. Boxman, you got a question from the chat room?
Yes, I do. I got one from Ted Turner's WCW in the chat room. Wants to know what your trainer Johnny Rodz was like in person.
New Yorker, old school. He was born like 1937 or 38. So old school New Yorker, tough. Everything the hard way. And especially in that time, you can imagine his ethnic background, being Puerto Rican and, New York, and how that whole thing would almost put barriers, but he went, way high and above these barriers. Amazing, tremendous athlete, just, very cut and dry. There was no eloquent way of him telling you certain things of what he wanted from you or, did not, It was like very cut and dry. Like, you fucking guys. It was very, but the thing is that when I watched Johnny Rodz way back in the day and wanted to get into wrestling, and I was actually with another wrestling school way before, Johnny Rodz, but, you didn't know that. And it was like apples and oranges. Because you go to someone like Rodz, and he really, really was an athlete. He could wrestle. He could teach you psychology, everything. And he was everything that is good for wrestling. Johnny Rodz represented, and will be legendary for him.
Nice.
Boxman, I think you got another question also. You want to ask that one also?
Yeah. Wanted to know what were some of your thoughts on the WWE ECW, because you did a few of those reunion shows with them.
Yeah, well, yeah, too. But, I thought it was absolute garbage from the very beginning. We knew it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Us, we were like, truthful and, older. Because, a lot of those guys are younger and, they have these ideals and everything. I'm in my 50s now, and, it's like I've been in the business of professional wrestling for well over 30 years, and it's like, like I'll hear meetings, and you have these meetings, and all these companies, we're going to do this and that, and you shake your head, you go, yeah, or you nod your head, you say yes, while you're like, you raise an eyebrow, go, yeah, that's going to happen. So personally, I think it was going to go. I thought it was going to go south immediately. I mean, the moment we had that first one-night stand, and that was actually a good show. And you see the whole, how they're booking everything and practicing everything in the ring. I'm like, oh my God, this is so fucking unprofessional when it comes to wrestling, because the last thing you do is go A to Z. That's not wrestling to me. That's circus.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just, and then seeing it come from McMahon, and, McMahon, he, does that quiver with his fucking cleft chin, and, I thank you guys for being here. Without you, and I'm like, oh my God, here we go, Why don't you just start fucking vomiting, it'll be more convincing. Yeah, it was all bullshit. I mean, I knew it was going to go nowhere from the very beginning, and, I knew how it was segregated, and they brought a bunch of us to do what, I mean, you got Credible. It was one of their last world champions doing a run-in after I do a run-in. It's complete bullshit. Everything was like, let's do this and raise it up and then destroy it. And then the second show was kind of a piece of shit,
Right.
No. Was the second show, was that the one that Blue Meanie and JBL got into it?
No, I think it was the first one, actually.
Yeah, I think that was the first one. I think that was 2005.
Yeah, with the Crusaders and all that. And that was like completely like, oh my God,
Yeah.
Comes back bleeding. I'm like, oh my God, did he get, I mean, he really hit him hard on his forehead. And I don't know what it is, I don't get into what happens between men. Because, men need to handle their stuff on their own.
Right.
Unless I see that something is completely unfair, then, you got my involvement. But it's like I knew, and, I'll be the first one to tell you that the first ECW TV in, was it Scranton? Was it Scranton? No.
Not sure.
Well, in New Jersey, right?
I'm not sure. I think it was in Jersey, but I can't.
Scranton is Pennsylvania. I'm sorry. What was that in Pennsylvania? No, I'm sorry. Scranton is Pennsylvania, and
I think Shaheen's looking it up.
New Jersey. In New Jersey, that first TV show where they had the guy, the young man that passed away that was dressed like a zombie.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the ECW zombie.
Yeah, and I was booked on that show, and I came in, and I came in a little late. I collected. I remember I collected my pay, and I was hanging out too, in case they needed me for anything. And obviously, when you're booked on the show, whether you're on the show or not, you're supposed to stay till the end. And I saw that opening with Sandman and ECW Zombie. I think Tim Larson, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And to no disrespect for any of the guys, just the company itself. I mean, I piss on them for that. I simply walked out, and I remember I walked past Paul Heyman. He said, "Are you leaving, Jason? Are you leaving?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm leaving." He said, "You're supposed to say," I'm like, like for this shit, and I simply walked out. No, I did. I walked out, and it was absolutely unprofessional what I did. But as far as how I felt passionately immediately at the time. I was like, fuck you. You know, this
Right.
is bullshit. We're all supposed to. And I remember the guys, you know, the great guys, you know, just being there. And, oh, yeah, it was a big battle royal that we're all supposed to be in. And Big Show was going to throw everyone out, you know, this and that, right? You know, something like that. And because he was supposed to be one of the ECW guys, just, I don't know. It was just such a mess. And it was so stupid and so ridiculous and insulting. And, you know, what killed me about that, you know, it's two things. It's like they brought us in there and they own ECW now, right? Now we're in this arena where WWF at the time or whatever the fuck runs, right? And you've got all these ECW fans that have supported us for all the years, through the good, through the bad, bought tickets, came in, became our friends, did everything for us. These people that came in, they were completely ripped off. Completely ripped off. And, you know, these people, these ECW fans were I mean, they were like sluts in their face, you know, saying, here, this is what we're going to deliver for you. You know, after all the time that they were like plugging, this is going to happen. It's going to be ECW, WWE on a big level, right? And then the younger fans that never heard of ECW said, this is it? You know? Is this, you know, the bullshit they've been, you know, plugging all this time? This is ECW, this is bullshit, you know? So it was like blatantly designed to fail from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And when I just remember when I went to, because I was told, you know, you're booked, you know, to all our shows, TVs and everything, and I went to that show in Manhattan. Where's that? Hammerstein Ballroom?
Yep, that's in Manhattan.
Yeah. Yeah, Tommy Dreamer comes to me and says, well, you know, you kind of need to leave. You're not welcome here.
Man.
I said, really? Yeah. I said, really?
Yeah, I mean, be honest with you, man. As a ECW fan that grew up with it, you know, I went to actually one of the first tapings for the WWE one, and it was at the Leocore Center. And I remember the main event was RVD against the Big Show, and right around there is when I stopped watching wrestling for about a decade, man. I was right around when Cena was coming around, and you know, no offense to those guys, but I just, you know, he killed it for me.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you were about to present a product that has a certain title, you know, please deliver it. And if, you know, there's nothing against WCW or WWE, nothing against it. It's just, you know, you got three different products. So, you know, separate the products. But, you know, when you blatantly fuck the fans, and, you know, forget about the wrestlers. You know, I mean, we do what we do. You know, it's like I said, it's always been my own volition. If I had suffered in a business and was underpaid or overpaid or hurt, this and that, look, I signed up for it. You know, but the people that are loyal and buy tickets, you know, they should not suffer for it. I mean, it's like literally spitting in their face and saying, well, oh, this is all, you know, now go fuck yourself because, you know, here, you know, come kiss my ass collectively. I mean, it's really, it's not cool. It's just a complete act of everything that is against good business. And it may bite him on the ass sooner or later.
Yeah, it was not the same. But let's rewind a bit again. Let's go back to the Eliminators. You were managing the Eliminators, you know, Cronus and Saturn. Of course, unfortunately, we lost Cronus way too soon, and Saturn, he disappeared for a couple years. Did you have a good relationship with those guys, and you know, any memories of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, Cronus, I met when he came to ECW with Perry, and Perry I knew from WWF. because we were both doing jobs, and you know, we used to go to the gym together, and then haven't seen each other in a long time, and then you know, I saw him there, and we looked at each other. He's like, "Oh, I remember you, and I remember you," and then you know, I remember John, and you know, Cronus, he weighed well over 300 and something pounds, and it was funny because the first night it was supposed to be them and I, the Eliminators and I versus Steiners and Taz, and I remember they were going over these spots, and Cronus saying, "Dan, I'm going to do this and this 360 and this," and I'm like, how is this huge individual going to do all this? Is he just like full of shit or what, you know? But no, it was like, he was like a lightweight in the ring. It was just amazing, you know. But you know, it was a good, you know, good team, you know, that relied on very strict A to Z spots, you know. And I think it takes a lot of talent to do that as well, you know, the A to Z. It's, you know, it's not how I want to work, but, you know, these guys were like, everything was like A to Z. Every spot was like almost, you know, it was on the money.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, just amazing athletes. Just, you know, to me, it just lost a little bit of that mystique, you know. But,
definitely. Any thoughts on Taz? You know, he always had a reputation of, you know, as far as gimmick anyway, you know, being a tough guy, being a badass, and you know, New Jack, he went out and said that you know, he had no reputation of being a tough guy, and the whole thing was just a gimmick. So, any thoughts on Taz and his reputation?
No, you know, I don't think it's a gimmick. I think, you know, that Taz is a tough guy, and, you know, a hell of an athlete and all that, but, you know, not nearly as tough as he puts himself out to be. And, you know, I mean, he was, you know, definitely a bully and all that. I never had a problem with him because, you know, trust me, I would have never put up with any of that. With, you know, again, not underestimating, but no fucking way. I don't put up with that shit. Not then, not especially not now. But, you know, the day that, or the night that he got in with New Jack, if they didn't hold him back, New Jack would have carved him into tiny little pieces. Because, you know, I mean, there's no way. You know, we're talking a great athlete like Taz and, you know, this and that, and, you know, versus this guy that is also a hell of an athlete, meaning New Jack. And plus, you know, I mean, he has no qualm about, you know, just simply cutting you into ribbons. You know, he stood no chance. I mean, and I will say it forever. But as far as Taz being one of my favorite people to work with, I used to love taking bumps for him because he does have a great technique. You know, he throws and, you know, suplexes and all that, you know. And especially if you know how to take him, you won't get hurt. The only thing is that, you know, you got way too comfortable with that tough guy gimmick, and Paul hypnotized him into thinking that, you know, he was a lot more than, you know, him. You know, a lot of those guys, him, Kramer too, you know, that he's, you know, this extreme tough guy and all that. You know, I'm sure he is. I'm positive he is, but not what, you know, these guys, not what they portrayed it to be. You know, they lived with mom and dad till they were like, what, 30 years old, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you know, there were kids, you know, from nice, rich families, and, you know, they lifted weights, and they were probably good at football and wrestling in high school, and, you know, beat up a few hoodlums around the 5 blocks that you know, they knocked around. But, you know, when it comes to, you know, man-to-man thing, you know, yeah, you know, I doubt that very much. You know, I always go for, you know, for that street smart and just, you know, having no fear, you know, and, you know, it takes a lot more balls hurting someone badly than getting hurt, you know, because then, you know, you have to take repercussions, you know, throw them out of the window. But, you know, I mean, yeah, I guess, like, you know, Taz and, you know, all those guys. Yeah, I absolutely think that they're double tough. They're tremendous athletes, hard-working. They deserve what they have earned through us, guys like me, putting them over. But as far as, are they that badass? Absolutely fucking not.
Right.
No way in the fucking hell. No. I mean, come on. Please. Let's. It's like writing books for small children.
Right. All right. So now, speaking of the Eliminators, a tag team that they were feuding with in the mid '90s were the Steiner brothers that were coming from WCW. How were they treated? Did they kind of fit in with the locker room, or were they kind of like the outsiders?
Yeah, they came in and they just kept to themselves, and you could see two professional guys that have been around for a long time. Two guys that started in territories and did their share of jobs, and had to toughen up during their careers, and they were there. They were there to do what they need to do, and collect their paycheck, and they just were there. And I mean, I remember maybe both, but Scotty Steiner, bringing in he was bringing in the hot plate and pan and boiling eggs and eating peanut butter, and I mean really taking care of himself in every way. So I think if anybody was like super professional as far as being pro wrestlers, that was they were the Steiner brothers. I mean, somebody to look up to, because they came in, never looked anything but 100%, and they were just there.
Yeah. Boxman, you got a question?
Yeah.
Speaking, since we're talking about the Eliminators, you manage teams like the Eliminators, the Pitbulls, the Impact players. Did you prefer managing, or would you have rather been in the ring wrestling?
Well, I hated managing. That was like my, I hated it. I was miserable.
Wow.
Because I've been an athlete all my life. I mean, if I start getting to, I've been an athlete. I've been in the military, not once but twice. I've been through situations that many people would not want to go through, but whatever. Be that as it may, it was my job at the time. I came in. I was injured. I came in. I managed. Was given a gimmick by Paul and tried to make the best of it.
Mm-hmm.
With the whole thing, and the thing is that that was never what I wanted to do. I absolutely was miserable doing it. In the beginning, no, the first few months, but then when I started getting better, and I'm like, I could start training, and I think that I would have done a lot better had I been given a green light to wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, just, my thing was just, let me wrestle, let me put all these fucking people over, It's like, old school.
Right.
You take a veteran, because you got to realize, when I, ECW, I was already 30 years old. My first debut, right? I was just about 30 years old,
mm-hmm.
right? So I was already a man, not a boy anymore.
Right.
And I've been in business for like 10 years, actively wrestling. So, that made me somewhat, a veteran. Second thing, let me, get me over enough so I can get other guys over. All these other, kids that are coming in and out, which eventually they did that anyway. But, that whole manager thing, I was like, I didn't care for it, honestly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now we know.
Now, just like you were saying right now, you didn't have a problem putting guys over, but did you have any problem putting guys over like Conan in 14 seconds where you can't actually go out there and give it your all and actually give the fans a good wrestling match?
no, it was like whatever, By that time, I was like, whatever, And I remember Conan and I just talking about it, and he's like, "What is this shit?" He's like,
Right.
He's like, "You have heat for this fucking guy, Paul? What is this? What did you, did you like, steal his cat or something, or run over his dog?" I'm like, "I don't fucking know, whatever." Because he was like really not, same thing with Charles Skaggs, Too Cold. When I lost the title to him, and it was supposed to wrestle no defense, he said, "This is bullshit. I mean, this doesn't make me any better champion or a wrestler, or it's like, this is bullshit." So, what, Charlie, whatever the fuck, let's do what we need to do. It's like, whatever, I probably stepped on false toes or something. I totally had no idea, but it was the whole thing, it was like, I can tell you, it was a conspiracy from day one when I came to the ECW, from those office boys and Paul, that, they had to fuck with me for whatever reason. And, it was just a complete, total ridiculous thing, that I tend to think that in some way there was like a worry that if you give me a certain push, that I'll do well, and then it's like you almost have to contend with me, and it's so stupid, because we're all there, we all work hard and all that, And my thing was like I said, I always would pride myself on being able to get people over, and I'm one of the guys. If you look at the record of ECW, I always enjoyed helping young people out that had talent. Before then it was Mikey Whipwreck, and I enjoyed matches with him so much, and wanted to do everything I could to help him escalate and elevate. Same thing with Hack Myers with Jazz. It was a girl that I worked with, and I had no problem helping her evolve.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it was just a very as much as I loved ECW, it became such a backstab company, and as within society, within that closed thing, these like The Office, and everyone that came in, the moment, the funny thing is, the moment they got a push, it's like they turned, their head got big, and they felt like, they had to shut you down, and especially if you're one of the guys that's, there to get him over. They shit on you instead of the other way around.
Right.
For me, somebody's getting me over and making me look great. God, I'm going to treat him like $1 million, because I want him to continue doing that for me. So if they're happy, I'm happy. If they're making money, I'm making money. And especially when they're making 3 times more money than I am. Like in the case of Credible and I. It was like,
wow.
I just wanted to, and it wasn't his fault. So, for instance, I was taking home $50,000 a year, well, 50 plus, he was taking home over 150, right? All I wanted was half of what he's getting paid. And again, nothing to do with him and his situation, but it's like, wait a minute, why not, why am I being completely dragged behind the friggin' horses, and, cracked on. So, as far as that aspect of the company, especially toward the end, it really sucked. And at the same time, it was the only place to be. And especially that do you remember the time when WCW was taking away wrestlers from ECW?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there were some of us that didn't go, and you know, we were absolutely promised by Paul that, you know, this is going to work in your favor. Thank you so much. And, you know, Paul, you know, knows how to draw a tear as well. You know, I mean, you know, he's good when it comes to that type of thing. And then, you know, someone's got, you know, shafted.
Yeah, I think that would be a fair deal, man. Getting half of you know, what Justin's getting. That would have been fair.
You know, I mean, you know, yeah, I know he was making something in the neighborhood over 150,000 because I know that he had announced that in many interviews, and which is cool. He deserved twice more than that. You know, I mean, that kid came in and he became an overnight sensation due to good push, good timing, and his talent. But
yeah.
I mean, if he's making 150,000, you know, give him 75, you know, instead of 50, you know, because that 25,000 more will, you know, keep me happy and, you know, keep me above the water.
No, absolutely.
So,
And we got another question from the chat room from Ted. He wants to know, what are your thoughts on Chris Jericho, and did you think he would become a big star?
I'm sorry, who?
Chris Jericho.
Like in general, or?
Yeah, Chris Jericho. Like when he was in ECW, did you think he would become a big star, like going to WWF at some point?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I always did. I always thought, you know, I mean, I really did. You know, I mean, he came in and, you know, I knew who Chris Jericho was before that.
Right.
You know, just, I think that everything about that guy is stardom. And then, you know, when he's there and on a personal level, I mean, he wasn't as big as, you know, I remember we talked and he's like, hey, I remember you, I saw posters of you in Japan, you know, and I'm like, oh, gee, thank you, you know, and I should be saying that to him because he was already a, you know, much bigger star than I was. I mean, you know, I've been in business longer than him, but still, you know, he had, you know, reached that level before I had, and I'm like, oh, you know, so, you know, that was really, you know, it was very nice, you know, how he, and then in WWF when he wrestled Lance, and, you know, that first One Night Stand, when I did the running, I mean, just the same guy, yeah, but I did think, you know, hell of a look, amazing on the mic and all that. I mean, just, you know, the guy can do it all. Yeah, I know a lot of people say, oh, he's so clumsy, took left feet, blah, 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 but, you know, I think he's a great wrestler. So,
Now,
I don't see a problem.
and another guy that you had an off and on feud with was Joey Styles. How did the itching come about? He had
I don't know. Yeah, we just used to, you know, get together and laugh about, you know, what we were going to do as far as the promo, and then I would try to, because I guess Joey was supposed to be like the opposite of me. He's supposed to be like this plain guy, you know, that, you know, with a regular haircut and the glasses and all that. And, you know, I would try to, you know, do up my hair and, you know, wear clothes that were flashier and then go, oh, look at me, I'm so this and that, you know. So he would start itching, and that it just became, that was great. You know, it just came about, you know, no one wrote that, you know, or suggested that. It was like, you know, we would do that. I'm like, oh my God, you got to continue doing that because, you know, it's like the moment you see me, you got to be like, you know.
Yeah, Joey Styles was great, man. They need to put him on commentary.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I mean, you know, I think that he ranks right along there with guys like Gordon Soley, maybe in a different way, you know, more modern day, he may be more animated,
Right.
but, as far as quality of commentary, he's just as good as, somebody like Gordon Sully. In fact, I think he's much better than some of the today's
Oh yeah.
or even yesterday's commentators. I don't want to mention names, but I don't. Like I said, I don't watch wrestling anymore. I haven't watched it in many, many years, so I don't even know who's commentating. But okay, if you put, say, Jim Ross versus Joe Styles, right? As much as I respect Jim Ross, I would still have to say, I think Joey kind of, he overpowers, at least for a little bit, in my opinion, because he's just more modern, more animated, and less repetitive, It's just, there's just more surprises there,
Yeah.
It's more like wrestling than trying to sell you a car type of a thing,
Right. And also, I think Joey Styles, the thing that impressed me was the fact that he did it by himself for the most part. You didn't see too many guys doing it by themselves.
No. I mean, this is, Gordon Sully did it by himself.
Yeah, that's about it.
But then again, he's slower and more methodical, and he was Gordon Sully. And Joey, and then plus, look at what Styles had to contend with compared to, let's say, the old Florida Championship Wrestling, which is absolutely my favorite in the world, always will be, but it was over a different pace and a different style, I mean, there were things going on, and you got to involve, you also have to remember you got to involve the ECW fans, because they made a big, they were just such a connective tissue.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It comes to, you had to put that over. You had people that were, with different characters, just the camera all over the place and everything, there was a lot to work with.
Yeah, there were some rabid fans back then at ECW, man. Just insane.
Yeah. There was a lot to work with. So.
Definitely.
Now, Jason, you actually got to work with one of Boxman's favorites. I just want to get your thoughts on her, Nicole Bass.
Yeah.
How was it working with her?
Well, Nicole, I know her for a very long time. I've known her, since the early 80s. I used to train in the gym that she used to own, her late husband, and always was one of the greatest bodybuilders, and tremendous look. And I heard about something of her wrestling, but they were like, oh, Nicole Bass is professional wrestling. Well, it was different type of wrestling. But then I saw her at Gold's Gym in Queens, New York. Her and her late husband Bob, and I approached him like, come over, to the ECW thing, this and that. It's going to be in Queens. It was actually a day after Christmas, and she came in and she got a job right in there.
Yeah.
So, it was. You got to realize, she wasn't. Nicole and I are, I think, about the same age, in her early 50s. So at the time, it wasn't like she was a kid that came in and is going to learn how to wrestle technically, and all the psychology and maybe even ethics of wrestling. She came in with a different attitude, and which wasn't bad. It just wasn't what traditional old school wrestling is all about. But she learned on the job, and hell of a look, and I think she did real well for herself in the world of professional wrestling. Went to Japan numerous times, and actually got contracted with a World Wrestling Federation, what a lot of us haven't achieved. So,
Right.
Besides being one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time.
Yeah, definitely. I know Boxman agrees. Now, another girl that came around was Jasmine St. Clair when, towards the end with the Blue Meanie. Now, was the locker room accepting of their relationship, and were they respectful, or, were they giving them shit for that?
I don't know. I was already out by that time. I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I never knew who Jasmine was. I mean, obviously, I didn't mean, and that was a time when he lost a lot of weight, and I guess they were together. And the only time I met Jasmine was when they ran the 3PW, and I worked a few shows there, and she managed me. So that's about it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about 3PW, but before they even came to ECW, I don't know if you remember, but RF Video, Rob Feinstein, he used to have a stand at the Franklin Mills Mall. And I remember, as a kid, I used to go there and buy all the Japanese videos and the ECW shows. And Jasmine St. Clair and Blue Meanie, they used to hang around there all the time. So it was kind of weird, seeing the Blue Meanie with Jasmine St. Clair. But, to each his own.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I mean, it was, like I said, I never, I just kind of relationships and all that. And, one thing when it comes to the business, I'm not interested in anybody's wife or girlfriend, or, quite frankly, I'm not even too interested in girls in wrestling. I like them, that when they're not in the business.
Right.
Because, I don't know, just, or even the ones that I like in the business, like, for instance, if I see their pictures, and anything is wrestling related, they could be buck naked, they're not sexy to me if it's wrestling related. If it's like, just bedroom related, yeah, there we go, Yeah, it's just,
I hear you, man.
That, just the code that I live by. I've, dated a couple of girls in professional wrestling and all that. Just,
No, I hear you, man.
Against it, whatever. Just one thing doesn't mix with another, So.
No, I definitely hear you, man. But any thoughts on the Dudleys? I know you don't watch wrestling anymore, but recently they actually returned to the WWE. So any thoughts on those guys and, being around those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I remember Bubba when he was just some kid, breaking in, and I met him a long time, and then he came in, he was Mongol, vile, and then, he cut his hair and became Bubba. And D-Lon, he was A-Train and all that. I mean, both, they're excellent at what they do. Quite frankly, like, the whole Dudley clan thing, I never really thought it was going to amount to anything. But then again, I've been wrong more than once. Only because, I don't like heavy gimmicks in professional wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, I never liked the whole hillbillies thing. Because it was too, like how do they know how to wrestle? You know what I mean? How do they get into wrestling? That's what I will be, the question I'll be asking,
Right.
It's like, I never cared for Bob Holly, such a tremendous athlete and tremendous wrestler and everything, being a race car driver. I'm like, fuck that, this guy's just a pure machine, by himself. He doesn't have to be there, or, that kind of a thing, or Michael Tamba being an IRS man, or
Papa Shango.
Yeah, like, here's a guy that's just this dude is a badass, he doesn't have to shake some fucking, fake-looking fucking skull, and, I don't like that in wrestling. So that was the same thing with me and the Dudleys, I thought it was, quite frankly, I thought it was stupid, this guy is this and that, the only time I thought it would have been something was when Jeff Bradley came in, I think he was like the most realistic, that real deliverance type, that, and it wasn't so far-fetched, like Here Comes the Family or these Hicks, but then it became Chubby Dudley and this one Dudley and Elon Dudley and Indian Dudley and Chinese Dudley and Martian Dudley. It just became way too, I thought it was actually stupid as far as the whole persona, the whole thing, the whole, I don't know. And I still don't think it's, anything. It's not my cup of tea. But as far as Elon and is he Bubba or is he now a bully or what the fuck?
They're back to Bubba.
Yeah, he's back to Bubba now.
Back to Bubba. Yeah, I think that stuck for a long period of time. It can definitely work. And you know what? You guys are still not the original head of tables. It's sad, but it's okay. Be that as it may. But I think as far as the wrestlers and all that, I think they can definitely go. They've mastered what they need to do. And the only thing that I think is a pity is that as a team or even as individual performers, all the matches are the same, and it's been that way since ECW, and I've seen some of their TNA stuff and earlier WWE, and I don't think it's changed. I'm sure it's still that blah, 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 blah thing, that, Devon does on top of the rope when he drops the head, and it's very predictable, and it's almost like, most wrestlers don't realize that, there are very few that could make it look that way and interesting. And one of them is Ric Flair. They could have the same match over and over again, and it would make it interesting. But everyone started following that pattern. And it's, too many wrestlers have the same fucking matches. That's the only thing that I have a problem with. Nothing changes. And everything, it's like you can be, it's 2 minutes in, now I know what's going to happen. Oh, okay, he hit the corner, now I know what's going to happen. He did this, he did that, It's almost like everything is way too calculated. Everything is circused out. It's once you start, when the old timers, you do that wrestling shit, that's all, it's all fake, it's all predetermined, it's all, well, you know what, it looks it, and it's a shame because these fucking people, they work so hard, they kill themselves out there, but everything is like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I would not want to work like that because it doesn't make it fun.
Oh, you would hate it today, man. You would hate it today. It's the same shit every week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've oh God. What was the last full match I watched?
What's that?
Was I'll tell you the last two matches that I watched that were full. One of them was Samoa Joe versus Sting, and it was a pay-per-view, and it was hardcore. When they, I think when Samoa Joe jumped off the rafter.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that was a Hardcore Justice show.
Was that like 10 years ago, or more or less?
Probably a couple more than that. Probably 3, 4. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And the last full wrestling match that I watched was TNA again, and I enjoyed it. And after I saw this match, right, I turned the channel because I said, I don't want to ruin for me, because I don't want something worse. It was actually Bubba Ray versus Sting on TV, and he beat him clean in the ring. That a good, two big men match, very solid. And I saw that match, and I never turned wrestling back on again. Ever since then.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. I can't blame you for a bit. But
I've surfed the channels, and seen some things that are absolutely like shameful. But,
Yeah, that's every week. Yeah, that seems to be the case.
Yeah.
But real quickly, let's go back to the ECW for 1 minute. ECW had a working relationship with FMW, where I guess you guys did a couple shows in Japan. The Dudley Boys, Terry Funk, Sabu went up there, and they were also bringing in guys like Gedo and Jado. I remember they had a TV match with the Impact players. How was that relationship with FMW and Onita, and what happened with that?
I don't know. Onita came in. It was like, he came in and it was almost like this. I don't know. Everyone surrounded him like it was this. Oh my God! Like this.
He's like a god.
Yeah, like whatever. And he just wouldn't talk to anyone or whatever. So whatever, fuck off. Because my thing is, if I come to your country, I show respect and, I greet you, but whatever. It doesn't matter. That's Onita and, God bless him and fuck off. For the other guys like Gato and Jado, they worked a very fun, very Japan/American style match with PJ and Lance. Very soft and light, and I did a spot with them, and it was very, very spot-like. It was again very kind of from A to Z, but much more relaxed, without some crazy spots. They were more like like here we are. We're Gato and Jado, and people sort of bought that instead of doing 1,000 moonsaults. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
It was very fun. I remember having a lot of fun that night, and just not worrying, not having to like cover up or stiffen up, because I'm, some fucking skinny ass 160-pound Japanese is gonna kick me in the face. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. Like they took care.
Yeah, they were great, man.
Yeah. I mean, and they were quick, and, they were moving here and there. They had enough comedy, they had enough, everything. But I just remember them being very, very, it was, if I could have worked with those guys night after night, I would have liked to very much, because they were just there, I mean, they, nothing seemed like it was stiff or uncomfortable or unnecessary, like you see with a lot of, those so-called strong style bullshit wrestlers, that they feel the need to, get all drugged up and then go out there and, stiff one another,
Yeah.
And,
Now, were you in ECW when the whole thing happened with XPW and ECW at Heatwave? I think it was 2000, where they bought out the whole front row, and I guess towards the end they had a little brawl outside. Were you around then?
What is XPW?
XPW was the promotion out of California. It was run by Rob Black.
Oh, yeah. No. I left.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you had left by then.
Yeah, I left. Yeah, I don't know. I heard something, and then I don't know what that was all about. Probably work. Probably work that escalated into fans getting into it, and I don't believe anything. I don't believe in any of that. That.
Yeah.
There are a few shoots in the business. And it's kind of stupid because, we all need to work with one another, so.
Absolutely. Last question on ECW. You worked a match with Jazz at Heatwave 99, I think. How was it working with a girl in the ring? Was it any different?
No, I mean, it's it's wrestling, it's a work.
Right.
It's, it's like, if you ask an actor, I would think, what is it like working with this one or that one, I mean, you just adjust. You got to realize you could be the greatest athlete, the toughest guy, whatever, and whatever your job description is, you either do it or you don't. If you don't like it, you walk away, and if you like it, you do the best you can. And I did everything I can to get her over and put her over. She came in. When she first came in, she did not look that good, and she wasn't as good. She was very I mean, I worked, with that girl in the ring night after night. With it, we trained beforehand, and I was always telling her, you have a great base, you're a great athlete, just train, diet, this and that. She did, and come night for paper, everything gelled together, and it was a match that I actually designed, and one of the only times when I would ever almost, not A to Z, but, every few letters, I kind of designed it like this, we're going to do, So I'm talking to her throughout the whole thing, this spot, that spot, and everything turned out beautifully. And I think, I thought it was a really good, fun match that, and you can hear the crowd, they liked it very much. So it's a little different. I mean, it's just, it's pro wrestling. It's, it's tough sport, but you know what? It's a work, and it requires for one to, once you accept the job, you do it 100%. Or, again, like I said, you say, fuck you, I don't want to do that. You walk away, and seek other form of employment, right?
Definitely. Now, after ECW died, you worked with promotions like 3PW. They had Abdul the Butcher come in, Kevin Sullivan, Terry Funk, and also Jersey All Pro. How was it working for those kind of indies after ECW? And how long did you stay on the indie circuit before you kind of left?
I think that the ECW almost like opened these gates of an illusion of companies like, we're going to be the next this one or that one, and I think that very few really became it. One of them being TNA, and the other one, well, what is that?
Ring of Honor?
Yeah, Ring of Honor, yeah. And, I know there are others that, claim to be your company, this and that, but, they run here and there, and some of them have a wonderful production, but be that as it may. So, it was like, I knew nothing really was going to materialize with any other ones, and, they were going to use a lot of the locals, and they were just going to copy a lot of, what, pretty much they all copied, including WWE, what ECW did, which ECW copied what the old school Florida Championship Wrestling in Puerto Rico and Memphis did, and Georgia,
right.
Yeah. It's just, before that, there wasn't any internet. So, remember the whole cigarette thing with Sandman and Dreamer, that was already done. It was with Mr. Florida, Bull Jones, and Super Destroyer, with the whole cigar thing, incident where the guy's, his eye gets burned out, all that was way back then. The whole thing, with someone being crucified. They did that with Superstar Billy Graham in Florida, Kevin Sullivan, and when, they crucified him and his scorpions crawled on him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all of that was done before, again, remember, like I said, the old hardcore spots, barbed wire and all that was done in Puerto Rico, and, those got fire and barbed wire, Puerto Rico.
yeah. Carlos Colon.
Yeah, exactly. You know, throwing somebody, you know, through a table, you know, the whole thing that Van Damme used to do. You know, I mean, that was done, Joel Duke versus Jerry Lawler. They did it every night through an announcer table. So, you know, the only thing is that, again, you only have the access of magazines and UHF antenna. So, you know, unless you had either of those, you know, you didn't know what was going on. So,
Yeah.
To me, later on, getting back to your question, you know, with the indies, I knew it was going to be independent promotions, and, you know, it was never going to get as good as it was before. And I accepted it, you know, worked for this one and that one, and, you know, 3PW was cool, Jersey All Pro was cool, all those places, you know. I mean, I appreciate every independent promotion I work with, you know. So, you know, I think it's great that, you know, they're trying to, you know, keep it going.
Absolutely.
And I hope, and I hope they continue. And, you know, I still, you know, wrestle and, you know, work for as many companies as I can, as long as, you know, they're willing to be fair as far as paying and, you know, treating wrestlers right, and, you know, not canceling the shows at the last moment and stuff like that, or trying to shortchange you once you get there. Oh, I'll get you another time, brother, and all that. No, you know, there is no brother once you owe me money.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, business is business.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I enjoy working for groups very much. You know, just as long as they're, you know, they're being honest and, you know, we're treating each other with respect.
Yeah. And actually, Jersey All Pro actually just came back about a year ago. So, never know. We might see Jason Knight at Jersey All Pro again. But you were actually the heavyweight champion, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, what happened with that? Because I remember your run never just finished off. I don't quite remember what happened with that, but...
Well, what happened with that was my very first show, they decided they were going to make me champion. And, you know, and it was actually the most ridiculous way through a battle royal. And I hate battle royals. I think they're fake and horrible, but, you know, I guess they can be entertaining. So it doesn't matter, you know. I mean, you know, you take the job and you get paid. And then I had another match. I wrestled Mikey Whipwreck. It was after his knee injury, and, you know, they had a match. And then I remember they had it was you know, I mean, he came back from knee surgery, so he really couldn't.
Okay.
You know, we couldn't do you know, anything. You know,
right.
It was like, you know, that type of thing. So, you know, it's not one of the more memorable matches. So the third time, and I think I know I wrestled Magic as well. And, you know, I was at a lot of fun with him in the ring. He's a big guy, and, you know, he can really, can give me good bumps and stuff like that. In any case, they had two shows back to back. They had an arena show on a Saturday, but on a Friday they had a show at that Jersey All Pro Arena. And they're like, "Oh, we don't need you at the arena, the Jersey All Pro Arena, but we need you at the ECW Arena show." And I'm like, okay. Oh, but, you know, don't worry about it. You know, you'll get paid like, you know, you were there. And, you know, I said, all right. So I found something kind of peculiar with that. And I get there, and, you know, they were like, well, you know, we want you to go there, put the belt on Homicide. And I said, okay. I mean, I love that fucking guy. He said, you know, he's a great guy, but, you know, it's like, you know, why didn't I wrestle last night? And then, you know, or at least start something, you know, some kind of storyline, or, you know, so I felt that it was like, oh, you know, let's just take this ECW guy and have him lose to one of our guys at the arena, you know. And I just felt like, I'm like, wait a minute, you know, it's bullshit, you know. I said, I'm not going to do it. Take the fucking belt and go fuck yourselves and pay me, and And I remember Homicide felt so bad. He's like, man, I respect you, son. I said, dude, I respect you. It's not you. It's these guys. Because I would have gladly have done it had I been asked nicely. Like, do you mind doing this? We're trying to, and, after that, they tell me, well, so-and-so went to the WWF and this and that. We're trying to make Homicide one. I said, you should have asked me that. Just, simply ask me, Jason, do this for us. I would have done it. But, you try to, like, treat me like I'm some kind of a kid breaking into the wrestling, 2 years in business, and I've been around for 20 plus. That's exactly why I didn't do it. I mean, I got to really no, don't just bring me in here and bring this thing on me. And honestly, I would have done anything, especially for that, young man. I mean, he's a great kid, and I worked with him a million times, and we always had so much fun in the ring. It just, that was a very, very douchebag move. And I'm not sure who came up with that. And I know Fat Frank blamed it on that Pierre blamed it on this one, Glenn Strange blamed it on the other one, and where I'm like, you know what? Somebody fucking, show a set of balls and man up and say, okay, we tried to fuck you over. It didn't work, whatever. And then they were like, oh, don't worry about it. I hope our relationship, working relationship can, still be strong because we'd like to have you back. And I was like, yeah, you'll have me back, right? One big fly. Meaning I would go back, but I knew they would never call me back again,
Right. Yeah, playing smart. Yeah, we actually we had Homicide on the show last week. He's definitely a great guy. But Boxman, you got one last question?
Yeah, one last question. Mikey Whipwreck was one of your probably most notable feuds in ECW. Just wanted to get some of your thoughts on working with him.
Oh, fun times. Gosh, just, fun times. So cool because we were like, if there was ever a feud that could have gone really far and should have, lasted and then even been revived was Mikey and I, because we were like such two totally different looks. And plus, I'm the older guy, he's the younger guy and all that. So, and especially I thought it was a lot of fun. And it was so cool when he was like, whipping my ass, especially after I would, bully him and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Made his comeback and, whipped my ass and beat me. It was awesome. I think it worked. It was definitely a formula that worked.
Yeah.
And it completely, everything great. And, hanging out with him and being friends with him and just totally, I can't say one negative thing.
Yeah, it was kind of cool how we all got to kind of see him develop in the company from, just kind of a new guy to what he became, in that company.
Oh, yeah. Well, paid a hell of a lot of dues, and had to put his body through a lot. And some nights weren't really. I remember, we used to hang out and, drink in my room and all that. And, a lot of things would just say, Jason, these fucking people, it's like, it's like they're deliberate and they take, and I'm like, they're going to do that. He's like, no, I'll do it, I'll take it, but it's just like I'm getting fucking pissed off and this is stupid and ridiculous. And I'm like, yeah, it is, So, it was, there was a lot of, the personal issues that he was going through and, in the beginning and just working and, not getting paid and just coming in and, being used and abused. But what? Paul did a smart thing because he saw that, he could really, really, develop his character into something really big. And, we're talking, how many guys can you say of his caliber at the time, you know, meaning the caliber, not exactly Sting and Hogan and whatever, but, you know, Mikey Whipwreck, you know, that Triple Crown, you know, champion and worked with some of the best and, you know, went all over and, you know, worked with some of the legends in the business. And rightfully so. And none of these guys ever had any problem with, you know, working with him or getting him over, putting him over. And, you know, I mean, one of, you know, if there's ever a Cinderella story in this business, it's him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Hey, Jason, man. Pleasure is all ours. Greatly appreciate your time, man. Do you have any plugs? Any way fans can get in contact with you?
My Facebook is cool. You know, just inbox me and, you know, we'll chat.
You got it. You got it. All right, man. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yep, take care.
All right.